Like... Place 100 blocks. Destroy 100 enemies with an air vehicle in one session. Okay. Probably do that later. Boosting a ground vehicle 100 times. That would probably happen naturally, considering how much I boost. Use your ground vehicle to jump over 100 objects. It's probably a horseback one, right? Yes, Giddy Up. Ah, screw it. I don't think I have anything else to do right now. So why don't we go ahead and get that feat done? Just to, you know, get it over with. Place down a horse. How about the zebra from the Toy Story in Space playset? Well, not really from it, but it's something we unlock in there. But yet, it never shows up in the playset itself. Pretty weird. And let's get the enemy creator out. Well, we can place it within this cave, which is interesting. We can actually place it within one of the tunnels. I don't know why we would. Kind of just gets in the way. How about up here? Let's place it over here. And, push the button. Alright. Probably get out the Sarkman blaster. And, where's the zebra? There he is. Let's giddy up, Mr. Zebra. Take out some Zerg bots. Some still swollen, but... Or still, I guess, swelled up. Swollen, I guess, is the correct term to use. From the, glow urchin. Dang it. Even the zebra swelled up. Great. It's this guy. He's the one with the glow urchin. Alright. I guess I could tell some stories while I'm doing this, because otherwise it'd be pretty boring, you know. Dealing with... Oh, great. Although, we might not have to deal with the issue of constantly being defeated by these enemies. Which, by the way, they're done with. Because... I got an idea. Check this out. Alright. We go into creativi-toys. We get out. Where is it? There it is. The Invulnerability Beacon. Alright, check this out. This thing's cool. Alright. Is there properties to it? No. Okay. So. This pretty much turns you invincible. Or, okay, at least I thought it would. There we go. Now we're invincible. Although I don't know if it affects enemies. It does not. Enemies are unaffected. It's just you that is now just straight up invincible. Cool. Now there's nothing stopping us from taking out enemies. So yeah, isn't that cool? In case you're tired of dying from enemies, you won't have to deal with it anymore. Now, I believe you can use other creativi-toys to, like, externally turn on and off the health bars on your characters. So, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the only thing that's notable about the Invulnerability Beacon in this game, at least. Oh my god, how many goo bots are there? Get out of here. There we go. Anyways, I think what I was talking about was kind of a later memory because this was in, I think, mid-2014. It was definitely at the end of that school year, the school year where I first got Disney Infinity during. And also like the one school year where I excessively played this version of Disney Infinity. Because, of course, this was always a thing in at least my elementary school. And I guess around this time, you know, in, what was it, 2013 and 2014? Or just the early 2010s in general, because it wasn't just this school year, but it was always like, you know, the last days of school, we'll be allowed to bring electronics. And that was always my time to shine, because, and even a couple of my friends as well, you know, cranking out the video games in school. And I do remember the year before this, in, I believe, yeah, the 2012 to 2013 school year, I remember bringing my 3DS to school. That was pretty cool. I probably told that story before. Yeah, because I played, that was when I excessively played Mario Kart 7. I think I told that during one of my Mario Kart playthroughs. Oh, by the way, there's a well entrance into the cave. Go there. And, yeah, I don't know if it's still the same case in elementary schools to this day, that they would have set electronic days. I mean, I'm sure nowadays most kids by elementary school probably already have a cell phone. That was not the case when I was a lad. I guess you could say, back in my day, we didn't have cell phones when we were in middle school. But it was kind of the truth. By the way, we have dealt with 200 enemies in total in the Toy Box mode. So, we're making progress. It's good to know. And also good to know that, yeah, like I said, we're making good progress. But anyways, probably about to ask, what does this have to do with Disney Infinity? Well, oh, and I think this was the second to last day of school. One of my friends brought their Wii U to school. Because, you know, it makes sense. You won't have to hook it up to a television or anything. Because it has the Wii U gamepad that you can look at. Which this game is one of the games that supports off-TV play. Where you can pretty much play this game just using its gamepad. Not every game supported it. I guess, some games that were a little too hardware intensive wouldn't use it, because, you know, it would require enough horsepower to not only run the game, but to also project the game onto a second screen. I know not every game on the system was able to do it well. Like, I'm pretty sure most Lego games couldn't do it well, especially Lego Dimensions, dear God. But that's a story for another day. But yeah, that was kind of the, I guess, reasoning. Because, you know, it was cool. It was novel, you know. Because it was the Wii U was kind of an easy console to bring on the go. Kind of. You still have to have a power outlet around you so that you can plug in the console itself. But, you know, it's still pretty cool. You know, bringing Xbox 360, PS3 level games anywhere. It was cool for 2013, but yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, funnily enough, it wasn't me that brought my video game console to play Disney Infinity, because I was usually one that would often bring video game consoles to school, but not to brag or anything, but I guess you could say I did it before it was cool, because nowadays I see countless people bring their Nintendo Switches to school. But I would always bring, like, the Wii, or I think it was just the Wii and Wii U that I brought to school. I think I would even bring, like, I think I even brought my GameCube in a couple instances to school. It was crazy. But yeah, I think the second to last day of school. We were allowed to bring electronics and stuff. It was kind of a nothing day for school. I think all we did was like watch a movie that day, and that was it, based on I believe a book that we read in class. Now I think about it, I think there were multiple school years that we would do that. At the very end of the school year, we'd just watch movies that the books we read were based off of. Like I remember one school year, our class read, if any of you know the book, The Tales of Despero. It's about a little mouse that I think like hangs out with some human girl or whatever. Something like that. Yeah, we watched its movie adaptation, which I often forget that film exists, I'll be honest. It's an interesting one because even as a kid, I noticed that they made plenty of changes to the movie adaptation. I guess to make it a little more family-friendly or whatever. Like, I think one of the characters dies in the book. Spoiler alert, by the way. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say what character it is. But one of the characters dies in the book, but doesn't in the movie. They live at the very end. Not sure why they made that change. But anyways, I digress. The reason I remember so well this friend bringing their copy of Disney Infinity to school is I did bring my own figures that day to, you know, have us play with them. So, you know, interesting that, no, I think about it, it's interesting that we actually, you know, kind of planned it all out. I guess my friend was like, hey, I'm going to bring Disney Infinity to school. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll bring some of my own figures. So I had to have known it in advance. The reason why I remember this, because that was the day that I broke one of my figures. My Mrs. Incredible figure, her head fell off that day. And I remember all of us being super bummed out by that. Also, pretty sure the enemy spawner stopped. Okay. Also, I just realized I'm still super small. Not that it makes a difference. I don't think it does with this blaster. But I gotta find a way to regrow myself. Okay, there we go. Alright, now things are back to normal. Alright, let's re-enable that enemy spawner. Probably hit it from here. Let's see if we can. If this blaster's long range enough. I think it is. It is. You. I believe that's one of Oogie's boys from Nightmare Before Christmas there. Uh-oh! It's a ranged Omnidroid. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's literally inside the walls and there's no way of getting him out. At least I don't think. Unless it is a cave right there. It might be, actually. Check this out. Okay, never mind. I thought I found him. I did not. Great. What I did find was a cowboy dude. Hello there. Anyways, yeah. Me and my friends were all super bummed out about my broken Mrs. Incredible figure. I don't remember what all figures I brought. I might have just brought all of them just for the hell of it. But, I believe that night I actually went ahead and told my parents about it and we were able to hot glue the head back on. And yeah, that's why my Mrs. Incredible figure is not only missing a hand, but is also has her head hot glued on. And I believe you could kind of see the same results from my Violet figure. However, okay, I think that guy just fell. Just fell off the edge. Anyways, is that on my Violet figure? You can kind of tell if you look close enough. of, like, you know, the remains of the hot glue, but it wasn't able to keep it. It wasn't able to keep it on the body. My Violet figure's head still comes off to this day. It's great. But I'm still going to keep it regardless because, you know, it's a part of history, I tell you. Of my history. I don't know. It probably didn't mean anything to anyone else, but it means a lot to me. Because I'll always remember stabbing through the Violet box with a pair of scissors. And that'll be the one thing to remind me of that. You know? Anyways. Through my photographic memory, the only other character I remember bringing on the top of my head was Agent P. I believe was I think I'll probably talk about this later about when I got that figure. Alongside Phineas from Phineas and Ferb. Because, yeah, I would have had Agent P by this time because I think this was May of 2014. But anyways, so that was on the second to last day of school. On the last day of school that year, which I'm pretty sure was, it was a short day, I'm pretty sure, because we would always have our last days of school be super short. We would get out at 1 as opposed to 3 p.m. And weirdly enough, I think it was like the one weird school year to where our last day was not only on a Monday, but it was also in June. Usually our school years would end in May. But this one ended in June. I think on like June 2nd or something. I'll have to look at a calendar and see. I'm probably right, aren't I? Knowing me. I'll probably check in a little bit. After we get the Giddy Up feat. I don't think this requires you to run into the enemies using your mount. Because, like... Can you even do that? Especially with a horse like this? Let's find out. With this Omnidroid over here. I mean, you technically can. But, like, it's not worth it. You may as well just... Okay, apparently I'm able to just pick this guy up. Apparently Sully's strong enough to pick up Omnidroids. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, we may as well just blast away with the blaster. There we go. Also, apparently, according to before, it was working anyway, because we got the part of the pest control feat that showed up. So, yes, this is probably going to work for this feat. If I were to guess. Okay, the spawner's still on. Not sure what that noise is, though. You guys hear that? Anyways, there's this guy. Is that my horse? No. Maybe it is. It always makes that sound whenever, right after I jump. Also, I don't know why my blaster is making a different sound than usual whenever it reloads. That's not right, is it? That's the sound it should make. Interesting. Anyways. That's a little weird. What's weirder is... oh, there's an enemy. Never mind. I was about to say, why aren't any enemies showing up? Here's one right there. And there's probably one... not over here. Oh, never mind. Yes, there is. This guy. Alright, what I was about to say was about the final day of this school year. It was a day where I actually brought my Wii U as opposed to my friend, and I actually did not bring Disney Infinity. I just brought a couple of the Lego games. I believe the Lego Movie video game, which just came out around this time. Well, okay, a couple months prior. But, yeah, I might have brought this up, but this was definitely the year where me and my friends were all about talking about the Lego Movie. It was our movie. It was the crap. It was our crap. I don't mean it as like it was bad. I just mean like, you know, pretty much like saying, should I say it? I guess I might as well. It was the shit, you know? Without me saying it's the shit. That's what I mean by it was the crap, you know? Just, I don't know, I guess more in vocabulary I'm more comfortable with talking about. I don't know. I was never very comfortable with swearing. I guess because my parents were super against it. So every single time I would, I was like, oh no, did my parents hear that? They might get on to me for it. Even as recent as like 2018, I remember my parents getting on to me about swearing. God, that was 5 years ago. As of the time I'm recording this. Probably 6 years by the time this gets uploaded. Who said that? Was it? Okay. Never mind. False alarm, I don't see anyone. And the spawner's still on. But yeah, as I was saying, I brought the Lego Movie video game for Wii U. I also brought Lego Marvel Superheroes on Wii U. So yeah, I played a lot of those two games on that day. Of course, I think most, if not all, of the class was huddled around my little gamepad controlling the game. I think it was mainly Lego Marvel Superheroes they were interested in, which makes sense, you know. It's also apparently I'm halfway to Saddle Sore. All right, good to know, game. Good to know. I guess all of these town objects being here definitely helps with this, with at least one of the feats. And there goes the enemies. But yeah, I guess Lego Marvel Superheroes was always popular, because I know it's popular nowadays, but I guess even in my elementary school class, it was the one that everyone would talk about, you know? I think for plenty of people saying like, ooh, play as Venom, or play as this character, whatever. I think I still remember that. Of people requesting me to show certain characters. The only one I remember on the top of my head was Venom. Because again, I guess even back then, Venom was a super popular character. I guess he's always been, you know? Just has a cool design, I guess, to a lot of people. I don't know, I was never much of a Venom kind of guy. I honestly thought characters like Green Goblin were a lot more interesting in terms of Spider-Man villains. But, okay, how am I going to get back up there with this horse? I guess there is over here. But yeah, I'm sure, I don't know how, you know, interested a lot of people are that I remembered this much. And who knows, some of you might think it's suspicious and that I'm making all of it up. I'm not. At least, I try not to make it up. Most of it is just coming from my personal memory, you know. But yeah, I guess that also lets you know that I wasn't the only kid that played Disney Infinity back in the day. around my area. A lot of people I knew did. Because, you know, despite what people say nowadays, Disney Infinity was a pretty popular game. At least the first one was. And I did have fun playing it while it was popular, as I think a lot of other people did. And that, you know, it was successfully able to appeal to its, I guess, primary target demographic. That being, you know, kids with a huge wallet that's able to afford all of these figures. I don't know if I was the only person I know of that, like, actually went out of their way to buy all the figures. I don't think I was. No, I don't think I was. I think there might have been other people that got at least like a grand majority of the figures and probably sold them off. You know, but I am not like other people. I'm not like other girls. No, I keep this crap. I keep this stuff that others may call useless. Which is probably why I don't sell it, because usually when people sell stuff to, you know, used game stores because, you know, they don't want them, and it's usually the stuff that rots on a used game shelves, I'm usually one of the people that buys that kind of stuff. Well, okay, that's not always the case. I mean, I'm not going to be the guy that takes shells copies of Kinect Adventures or anything, but I am going to be the one that takes their Disney Infinity figure, so look out. By the way, we leveled up, which is kind of useless now because, yeah, spins are now useless because we're done with the Disney Infinity Vault. That's kind of the problem with having levels unlock spins, is because after you've used up enough spins, leveling up pretty much becomes useless, aside from getting statues and gold stars, you know? Other than that, it is pretty much useless. Which is why I'm kind of glad they changed it in later Disney Infinity games to have leveling up give you, like, upgrades to your character. Because I think that works a lot better than, like, it giving you spins you can use to gamble away which toys you want for the toy box. You know? It's weird. Alright. Maybe we could try jumping over more toys and stuff as the game suggests. Oh, he's within the plant. That's why it was hard to see. Alright. I'm pretty sure my friend that I talked about that brought his Wii U to school, I think would even bring it on other days. I would always just bring it to, I would always bring my electronics to school, like, at the end of the year when teachers would suggest it. I guess there's always a good kid that always obey the rules. Well, most of the time. Sometimes I would get in trouble, mainly for, you know, stuff that you would kind of expect, like, I guess, talking too much, or, saying something inappropriate. Or usually just having too much fun with friends. That's usually what it was. It was usually my friends that would get me in trouble than me causing my own trouble. Alright, we got the feat. Giddy Up. Cool. Only 100 sparks, really? Wow. Thanks a lot, game. You know, I spent a lot of time to get that feat, and you only give me a measly 100 sparks. I can't believe this game sometimes, man. Anyways, we only have a few feats left. And is there a Giddy Up 2? There better not be a Giddy Up 2. Thank God, no there isn't. Okay. But let's see, pest control 2, we are nowhere near getting. Apparently we're like at 250 or something. We're only like a quarter of the way there, dear lord. But we still have 100 enemies to defeat while in an air vehicle. So there's that to look forward to. Alright. Let's get these enemies out of here. And also, really get ourselves out of here soon, because might wrap it up here in a bit. As soon as we get all these enemies out of here, just watch this. I'm not going to push the button. No, 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 no. I'm going to do something a little more unexpected. Watch this. I'm sure my kid self would call this doing it Minecraft style and destroying the spawner itself. Boom. If you don't know, spawners were a thing in Minecraft, or I guess still are, in the video game Minecraft, that will spawn out enemies. And you could find them in like dungeons and that kind of stuff. I'm sure everyone watching this video knows that, but just in case people don't, if you don't get the joke I was trying to make, there you go. There's your context. You're welcome. And also, yeah, I guess I could give like a zoom out of the entire Pirates of the Caribbean toy box. There's quite a lot to it, you know. I guess there's quite a lot to all of these toy boxes, but this one in particular, there's a lot going on. You know, there's a lot of variety here. You got a shipwreck, you got a town, you got a fort, you got a cave. It's pretty cool. And, yeah, honestly, in terms of the pre-built toy box worlds, this one might be one of my favorites. In fact, now that I think about it, oh, there's another one of these plants over here. Great. As I was saying, in terms of all of these pre-built toy box worlds, it might be between this and the Metroville toy box, and it might be between this and the Metroville toy box when it comes to being like my favorite of the playset pre-built toy box worlds. Of course, in general, my favorite pre-built toy box world would probably be empty. I don't know, I'm just not a fan of most of the pre-built toy box worlds in this game because I don't think they make for great templates. They're fun to mess around in, but like, if you're one that wants to actually build stuff, they're not great for that, which is why I think the pre-built toy box worlds they introduced in, I think, 2.0 edition are a lot better when it comes to being like templates you can use to have a starting ground. Like, plus, I think a lot of them are actually like randomly generated stuff. It's cool. Like, there's a terrain one, there's a city one. I think there's even like a racetrack one where you can make a randomly generated track. It's cool. Anyways, there's an Elsa character chest. Isn't that cool? I don't believe it. Idina Menzel is in a video game. Anyways, bring the matching hero to this chest to open it. Apparently they're called heroes in this game, not just characters. I guess that implies people like Syndrome and Davy Jones are heroes. It gets even more confusing in later Disney Infinity games when they bring in characters like Loki, Green Goblin, and Darth Vader, you know, which are outright villains that I guess this game will call heroes. But I guess I'll wrap it up here.